Hey guys, welcome to my audiobook podcast. And the whole premise behind this channel and these videos is that audiobooks have helped change how I see the world. They've helped me understand what I could be capable of outside of just my kind of human experience, like what I see and what I do and how I feel and who I interact with. Audiobooks have given me kind of like a cheat code to becoming better, quicker, to understanding how I can improve. And I wanted to share that with you guys. If there's something like this that works for you, if audiobooks works for you, great, let me know. And the reason that I say that is because I think audiobooks are so powerful. I'm going to go into that a little bit more on this first episode. I'm going to tell you a bit about what's helped me. I'm also going to talk about the journey that you can go on if you're looking to improve and if you're potentially a bit lost, which is similar to how I was when I started this process. So, number one, I'm going to talk about how audiobooks can help you, why it might be something that you could get value from. I'm going to then talk about how I got value from it, and then I'm just going to close it off today with essentially just an open discussion where we're going to talk a little bit more about it. So, audiobooks for me have been life-changing, and the reason I say that is they've really helped me the first reason that they helped me was for my job. I was working in sales, new business, outbound, cold, no help from the company, sales. And that can be really tough. It was my first role where I had to do that kind of prospecting, cold calling, and it wasn't really working for me. I was struggling, and I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to get fired soon. So I personally have never really been a big fan of books. And the only reason for that is, which I've now realised, is because I'm quite a slow reader. So whereas it might take somebody, I don't know, say, a week or two to listen or to read a book and then get the value from it, it would take me months. And by the time I'd finished listening to it, it's taken too long, it's taken too much of my time. The kind of like time to value scale has really tipped in the other direction. Whereas you kind of want to get as much value in as little time as possible, then you can kind of apply it. So I just never really, I've read a couple of books, but never really used books to help me. But this sales role, this was the first time where that changed. So this sales role, that was where I started to need help, really, in an area. And I started listening to, I can't remember exactly what book it was, but it was a book. I was just going for a walk, and it was about how you can prospect. Maybe it was fanatical prospecting. And there was something in the book that basically said, if A equals X and B equals, Y, then C equals, and in the kind of space between the audiobook speaking and me thinking about what it was saying, I answered the question and got it right. And it was kind of like a lightning bolt moment where I was like, oh my God, I just learned something from going for a walk, and just putting some headphones on. And it might help me in my job. So then I went nuclear and I listened to audiobooks every day, all the time, 24/7, mostly. And it really helped. I was listening to audiobooks about a specific thing, a specific reason. And the reason was to not get fired and get better at my sales job. So, yes, it was for a reason. And yes, it really helped. I went from essentially being the one of the worst sales people in this company in terms of like booking meetings and getting leads and self-sourcing my own kind of activity, to being the top meeting booking salesperson at the company. Now, that's just the first step at getting better at sales, booking the meeting. But it is very important, because if you're not having conversations, you're not going to have deals, and downhill from there. So that's where my journey started, with realizing that I could get value from audiobooks. And when I talk about value and all this stuff, in like high lofty languages, it can be hard to understand. But basically, you can get better by doing nothing but going for a walk, putting some headphones on, and listening to stuff. So the question is, do you have problems? Maybe. Would you like to get better? Okay. Well, there's probably an audiobook out there that's targeted specifically at you for your little problem that can help you get better at it. Okay? So just freaking listen to an audiobook. That's basically, in a nutshell, what these videos are going to be about. But I also want to kind of just share, the reason I'm doing these podcasts is because I think if I can help other people the way that audiobooks have helped me, and it's just helping find audiobooks, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm doing a lot of work here. If I can just help people realize that audiobooks could help them, then their life could change. There's so many things that have changed in my life since then. I've moved countries, I've moved jobs, I've learned how to be better at interviews, I've learned how to be better at my job, I've learned how to get better with family members, disagreements, and now I'm just kind of exploring, what is it I like about certain books, what do I not like, and how do I lean into what I like and lean away from what I don't like. And that'll be the same for you. You'll have something that's different to what I like. I'll have stuff that's different to what you like. But the whole point of this is, if we just continue to live our life in our own bubble with our own friends and our own, people that we interact with, we'll only get X amount better. But if we listen to stuff that we never would have ever heard of, then, it just opens you up to more possibilities. And you know what? It's just a bit of fun. Like, relax, calm down, don't worry about it. So that is audiobooks. So what my plan for this podcast is I'll probably do one audiobook review a week. I'll have a website connected to this where I'll just write articles about the audiobooks and kind of, little hints about what you can get from it. And I just point you towards audiobooks, really. And the only reason for that is it might make your life easier. And, if you think, like, what does that mean? Well, it means if you're struggling with personal relationships, if you're having arguments with people and you don't know how to stop, or you don't know how to take control of the situation, and you're always blaming people, like, they did this and they did that, which is kind of the victim mentality, which is very easy to step into. I'm not perfect. It happens to me sometimes. Sometimes it's really hard to step out of, especially when it's a very intense situation, like a work thing or a family thing, But there's a couple of books that I've listened to that have really helped me. And I suppose the question is, if there was something that could make your life easier, better, more rewarding, and it didn't cost anything, or didn't cost that much, maybe like a subscription or something, but you can get it on YouTube, so it doesn't need to cost anything if you're money limited. If that's the case, would it be worth a try? Yes, is the answer to that question. So I'm really looking forward to starting this. I'm going to be consistent with it. I'm going to, like I say, talk about different topics related to audiobooks. Maybe some days I'll have guests. Some days it'll just be me talking about audiobooks. And that's really the key point here, is it's all about audiobooks. But if you just zoom out a little bit more, it's about getting better. And who doesn't want to get better? Who doesn't want to improve? I'll mention a book just because there's a few that I like, and some that I will revisit, just because it's funny. When I started this, I really never thought that I'd be the kind of person that would listen or read or reread books. But now I'm into audiobooks, whereas it might have taken me a month to read a book, I can listen to it in kind of 2 days. So the time to value ratio is way skewed, which means I can and have ran through books before. But it also means maybe I'm not getting that much out of them. Maybe, I could go over them again. So I've got a couple of books that I've listened to several times. I suppose the book that I've listened to the most at the moment is a book called Non-Violent Communication. It's probably not the book that I've got the most from, but it is still. I do want to listen to it again. It is one of those books that you get something new from it every time you read it, and it's quite hard to grasp. So non-violent communication is basically the idea that we've all been given like a script or a code, and part of our code is the way that we talk to people and the way that we interact with people. And that script can be violent. You don't give me what I want, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to argue with you. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to quietly be angry and outwardly agree. Whereas nonviolent communication is, and this is just a book that's helped me deal with family members, with friends that I like, but I'm having trouble communicating with. Sometimes when you speak to people, what you want to say and what they hear are two completely different things. And that's when you're both speaking English. So if you put a different language in there, if you add in a language barrier, it can multiply. So one of the things that nonviolent communication talks about is kind of, and I don't even, I suppose, understand it properly myself, but it's about like labeling things, saying how you make me feel. Oh no, that's not it. So if somebody does something to hurt you, or like says something, and you say, you make me feel X, well, that's not true, because somebody is not forcing you to feel X. In reality, when they say that, it makes you feel like they don't appreciate you. And because you think they don't appreciate you, you don't like that. And just by talking through these things, by stating clearly in that kind of frame, in that kind of way, it can help people like, no, that's not what I meant. The funny story actually, so it was a misunderstanding with somebody where I said something about coronavirus, and somebody else then went really angry at me in front of like a class. I just started this new class, and then after the class, it was kind of embarrassing. This guy like kind of called me out, and the way that he said it, I felt made me look like an ass. So after the class, I went up to him and said something like, hey, I'd really like to know what you think I said. And the guy was like, well, you were completely out of order. And I was like, well, yeah, well, what do you think I said? What was it that was out of order? I'd like to know. And then when he explained what he heard, I realised it was completely different to what I'd actually said, which can sometimes be the case. However, if I would have just leapt to, you're an asshole, I don't want to talk to you again, then it just leads to, you can have more bad conversations. It's very hard to have the good conversations though. And we've just got to work our way through it. So that's just an example of a book that has helped me personally. There's also books like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm reading that physically now. And that's the funny thing. From a guy that never read any books and never had any interest in books, now the audiobooks have actually started to get me interested in actual reading. So yeah, all of this to say, audiobooks have changed my life. I've quit my job and done an MBA and all this kind of stuff. Not that that's particularly had a massive impact on my life yet, but it was a great experience. And I don't think I would have had that experience without starting with audiobooks. So that is going to be the focus of this channel, of this content. It's all going to be about how you can listen to audiobooks, how you can find things from it. And you know what? I just think it's a slightly better for you than just watching Netflix. You know, that's no shade on Netflix. Everything's good for a certain reason. And, you know, if you enjoy it, you should do it. But I personally just get a lot more value from audiobooks. And if I could help other people see that value, that'd be awesome. That'd be really, really awesome. Because the way that I kind of think about it is, if a guy from a small town up north in the UK can get so much value that he can change jobs, he can change countries, he can change, life choices, what could that do for other people in my situation? Could it help you increase your grades, increase your likelihood of being promoted? And that is just super, super awesome. So that's what we're going to be talking about for this whole channel. It's all going to be about growth, self-development, improvement, but because of audiobooks. Now, there might be some new technology that comes along, which would be awesome, and I'd happily talk about it. So I'd be really keen to know if there's anything or any books that you'd like me to do a review of. There's a couple of books that I'm going to either reread or re-listen to, or one will be Nonviolent Communication. Are there any books that you've read or re-listened to? If there are, let me know. And this is the Audiobook Joe podcast. I'm Joe, and we're going to be talking about audiobooks. So, one of the books that I'm reading at the moment is, what's it called? It's called Breadth or something like that. Range. Okay, and the whole point of that book, Range, is... So I listen to it on Audible. Audible's really cool, really good. You can get lots of good audiobook choices on there. But this Range book's quite good. So the basic principle of it is, it talks about how, Tiger Woods has been like a child prodigy, and he's kind of been indoctrinated into the golf thing. And golf is pretty much a fixed sport, relatively. There's not that many variables. There are, but not unlimited. And, given a certain number of repetitions and corrections, you can get super good at it. But then it talks about how, I think it was Roger Federer, had a completely different childhood upbringing. He had much more range, and tennis is basically more like life, and golf is more like basically a simulation. Because there's so many more variables in tennis. And they call it a difference between a kind world and a wicked world. So golf is kind, tennis is wicked. And one thing that I like about it, as a guy that's going through life at the moment, I've had several jobs. And sometimes you can start to think, oh gosh, maybe I'm a bit directionless or unconnected. But one thing this book says is there's actually some of the some value to not specialising super early, to having kind of an exploration phase, and that everything that you do contributes to who you are and who you become. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. The episodes are probably going to be about 20 minutes long, if maybe shorter. If I have a guest, maybe a bit longer. And yeah, this is the first episode. So thanks for watching, guys. And let's just carry on. See you later.